On my side of the street, there was one tree. And there's been people arguing with me, there wasn't no tree up there. Well, hell, if there wasn't no tree up there, I wouldn't be sitting here. There was a tree. On the other side, there was 4 or 5 trees. Well, this gate, I'm looking straight at the gate. And there's a, like, archway. It was a flag run up right there in the arch of that gateway going into the Citadel. Red flag, big yellow star. And I knew that. And I turned around, I did this, trying to tell people to go back. And that's when he opened up with that gun. And he hit over here. I turned and there was a wall. On my side of the street over here, it was there was stores and buildings. Over here was a wall about 6, 7 foot high. Just no gate, not just a clean, just a wall. And then some buildings up here. And I just flattened up against that wall. And I remember that gun come down like this and started over here. All I can figure is he rested his finger. He just shot a couple of short bursts. I didn't get a scratch on me. He hit Corporal Lucas, and Lance Corporal Lucas was down behind him. He had turned and hit him in the throat. He would live, but he hit him in the throat. And there was and everybody's always forgot to put this guy, and I'm one of them. There was a Lance Corporal Lewis up there with us. And where he went, I don't know. I mean, he was pinned down up there with the rest of us. I don't know where he went. And then when I got a chance, I tried to get in one of those buildings. Now the machine gun, he's working on these guys over here, and the damn doors and windows was boarded shut. I couldn't get off the street. That's where the tree, and there was a tree. And I got behind that tree. And I fired maybe a magazine. I could see the machine gunner. I could see where he's at. Every time he'd pop up, I'd try to shoot back. The guys over here couldn't see him because of the tree, the foliage. He's up here and they couldn't see him. And we had a guy over there, Kinney Buchanan, and I'm hollering at him. He's got an M79. And he's pretty good with it. If he could have seen that gunner, he could have took him out, but he couldn't see him. And I'm hollering and yelling and pointing, and they think I'm hit. That's what they told me after we got. I wasn't hit. I was trying to point where the gun was. Well, Lance Corporal Kinney was a machine gunner. He gets out. I think he understood what I was saying. So he moves up where he can set his gun up where he can see them, and he didn't even he got killed right there as soon as he exposed himself. And boom, I go, and my rifle jammed. So I took my cleaning rod, poked out the shell casing, and I'm sitting there putting one round at a time. And that M16, that was the early ones. And don't tell me you keep them clean, they won't jam bullshit. I was cleaning it every time we stopped. That's why most guys had their cleaning rods in their packs. Well, we left our packs. I was still doing enough. I still had my cleaning rod hanging on my cartridge belt. And I'd poke around out and I'd go bang. I'd get back and I'd bang. And then here's where heroes come in. Here comes Doc Kirkham. And Corporal Lucas seen him. He's laying there, and I can see Corporal Lucas bleeding on both sides. I think they just shot him through and through. And he could barely pick his arm up, and he did that. Doc kept coming. And then they hit him, and I read somewhere where they said he shot dead instantly. Well, his mom and daddy's gone now, so no, he didn't die instantly. Hit him. They cut that jugular vein. Now, you got to understand, this guy's 20, 25 feet from me, and I can't get to him. Corporal Lucas is closer than that. That tree's about this big around. There's no place to get him, and you can, every time his heart beats, you can just see the blood spurt. And Doc Kirkham looked at me, and he just looked at me and he mouthed the words, "I'm dead." And he bled out right there on that street. But he kept coming, knowing there was no cover, nothing for him, and this machine gun, and there's not machine guns, there's other rifle fire coming down that street. It was just, I'll never forget the noise. You can see people hollering at you, you can't hear what they're saying. And finally, somebody somehow they got a Vietnamese flatbed truck that like a rice hauler, only it didn't have no rice, only just a flatbed truck. I don't know who did it. I've talked to people. Nobody knows who did it. Somebody got that truck up the street. So now it's up here about even with me. And that's going to give us a little bit of cover, and then somebody started throwing smoke grenades. And of course they don't quit shooting. They know we in that smoke, but you know, at least they can't see us. It's kind of like when you're a kid covering your head up so the boogers don't get you. You know, we got smoke we can hide in. And I grabbed Corporal Lucas. I grabbed somebody. I grabbed one of them. I don't know which one. And drug him off that street. And then we started loading the dead and the wounded, and there was a bunch of them. And Capt Meadows made a decision. It probably cost him a star. He probably would have retired as a general. But our orders was to go, if he'd had us try it, he'd lost that whole company. And he made the decision to pull us out of there, and he wound up retiring a full bird colonel. But if he'd have tried to go on through there, there's no way. It's just no way. And we got back to McV, and I heard we got hit that night. I know me and a young Marine, we were just wandering around there in McV. Corporal Lucas is dead, so ain't got nobody there to tell me what to do. Corporal Fields is wounded or hurt. He's gone. The squad leader on the other side, he's gone. Our platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Levi Jones, he's gone. So we got, you know, I didn't know other folks, so I'm one, and I found this room in McV, towards the front of McV, and I opened the door, and there's a refrigerator and two beds in there. And I just went in there and laid down.
I can't thank Bill Tant enough for being part of our project, telling the story of the battle for Way. They're telling the story of the firefight on Ambush Corner, happened on the afternoon of the first day of the battle, January 31st, 1968, first day of the Tet Offensive. Now that story is part of episode 2 of our series, The Battle That Changed Everything. We were 2 episodes in so far. Episode 1 here that kind of sets up where we're going. Also tells you the story of Alpha 1-1 on the first day as they're going into Way. Second episode, Golf 2-5, their story through the first day of the battle.